Welcome to another episode of Pull the Trigger. I'm your host, Sandra Gonzalez. I'm a retired Marine officer turned life coach speaker. I had the honor and distinction of serving 20 years of honorable service, and now I help high caliber female and men entrepreneurs develop sexy confidence. I help them kick self-doubt to the curb, and in the process, so they can stand out as a leader. And today I am so excited. I cannot wait to share with you the powerful woman who's my guest. What an absolute honor it is to have her. So before I briefly introduce her and I bring her on, because I have so many questions, Michelle and I met at the Women's Chamber of Commerce in Dubai. We had connected through social media, which was great, but to personally and physically give her a hug and meet her and ask her these questions was, as you already know, very meaningful when you actually see and meet someone in person. But ladies and gents, let me tell you, please give me your undivided attention, because when you give us your undivided attention, it equates to retention. Now, Michelle Raymond, she is the CEO of an executive coaching boutique consultancy there in London, or internationally, I should say. She's a certified master NLP practitioner. She's an international TEDx speaker. Okay, you're in for a treat. Now, this is what I love about Michelle, amongst many other things, but she's on a mission to make the invisible visible. Wow, that's powerful, Michelle. And she's been featured in BBC, ITV, The Guardian, Business Insider, just to name a few. Michelle, I know, I'm trying to keep it brief because I really want to ask you questions, babe. Is there anything I've missed? And welcome to this amazing episode of Pull the Trigger.
Listen, what can I say? I'm so excited to be here. I know we connected online and we almost fell into each other in Dubai. We were both at a networking event and you said, oh my God, I'm sure that's Michelle. And then we connected properly, which was really, really great. So I'm honoured to be here, and I'm honoured to be able to share a bit of my wisdom, knowledge with your listeners and your viewers. So I'm excited. And I think you covered me well. You talked about me being that international speaker and the TEDx speaker and international trainer. So you've covered everything. And I'm sure there's more. I sit on a number of boards and I do lots of stuff with young people. But you know what? We're here to serve your audience today. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle. So now, this question is, I would say, partly selfish, because I can't wait to hear your answer to this question that I know is very applicable to other high caliber women and men entrepreneurs. Now, the question is this, Michelle, right? As a high caliber female entrepreneur, how would I, or any of my viewers watching, how would we approach corporate? Like, what do we say? And how do we approach these big companies?
Listen, this is one of the biggest questions I ever get asked is, Michelle, I want to sell my services into corporates. What do I say? Where do I start? Who do I speak to? So there isn't one set strategy, because corporates, when we even say corporates, are we talking about small corporates, medium-sized, big? Are we talking about like the Amazons of the world, the McDonald's? They're seen as corporates. What I always say is, there are a number of things that you need to be able to meet, because no corporate's going to speak to you if you can't help them with certain things. So I'll just share what the things are. The first thing is, can you make them money? As an entrepreneur, and you may sell your services currently in a B2C space, And you may have existing skills that can be translated quite well into the corporate space. But can you save the corporate money? Can you make them money? The second is, can you save them money? So you may not be able to make your intervention or your solution doesn't make them money, but they can save them money in some way. And save them money might be helping with retention, keeping people in. Because when people leave the organization, it costs the organization in terms of the hiring and that knowledge sharing again. So can you make the money? Can you save the money? Can you push an agenda in terms of an existing initiative and an existing agenda? So if you can help them do that, make the money, save the money, push an existing initiative, or if you can save them time. Those are the 4 areas that they're looking for. And if you, as a small business owner, as a high caliber entrepreneur, you have existing skills, you might be really great at marketing, you might be really good at counseling, you could be a trainer, a teacher, a facilitator, a speaker. But if you come into a corporate, it's not knowing what to say, it's listening to what they need, and then you can put your solution to the table. But you have to be able to make the money, save the money, push an initiative, or save them time.
Wow. So what would you say, Michelle, like how could we better listen to them? I know it's one thing. So for me, if I want to go to this big company, I can only get so much information doing my due diligence and researching their philosophy and so forth. What can I do as an entrepreneur to get those answers, or who would I go to?
So there's a number of things. So even your due diligence, you can get so much from the due diligence if you know where to look. So what people usually do, they just go to the website and they just have a look on their main website. But there's parts of the website you need to go to and need to address. You need to go to where they have a press department. And on every big organization, they have press releases. So you can see what the press have said about them. And that will show you what they're working on. It gives you a bit more insight. Also, even when you're doing your Google searches, use Google Alerts. And many people use it, but there's a whole lot of people that don't use it. And when you use Google Alerts, you can put in Google Alerts and then put the company name. And then what that does, every morning and afternoon, it will send you updates of what's going on within the company, which is made public to other people. So then you can get to find some insights. So let's say you've done your due diligence, you have gone on their website, looked at press releases, you've gone on Twitter to see what some of the people in the company are saying. When you're now in front of them, is how do you use all that intelligence and that insight to show that you are seen as an advisor, as an expert, and not someone just trying to sell their products into the service. So what you want to do is find out what is going on within the organization right now. Now, that's a big question, right? And depending on who you're speaking to, they might be like, gosh, where do you want me to start? So what you want to be doing is finding out what is happening within the department, what is pressing, what is on your to-do list. Rather than try and tackle the whole organization, tackle what's on their to-do list. So you might be speaking to HR, and your question around to HR could be, what's challenging for you right now? What is on your to-do list? What needs to happen within your department within the next 6 months? Now you're talking to them about something that's pressing. They can think of that very quickly. And then it's about sitting back and listening, making notes, listen to key words. If they're saying retention, if they're saying change, transformation, if they're talking about hybrid, if they talk about remote, if they talk about leadership. These are the things you want to be listening out, because there are 20 key things that are topical within corporates at the moment which they need helping. So anything around sustainability, mental health, leadership, change, HR, IT, anything around well-being, anything around hybrid working, team effectiveness. So you want to be listening out to those types of themes, and then you'll know whether you have the skill set, the experience, and the capability to support them. So that's what you do. You do your due diligence, and listen out to these themes, and then you'll know you're on the right track.
Love, love, love that. Oh my goodness, Michelle. So I know great points that you've brought up, but one that really stood out for me is one that I actually experienced being in Dubai, which I think is forthcoming, and that's sustainability. Would you say like that's the big common theme right now, that these big companies are trying to achieve this sustainability? If so,
Yeah.
how would how would one support that, so to speak? So I'm like a service provider such as myself. How could I support a big company? I mean, I know how I could do it, but what would be your recommendation?
So I would look at sustainability as the umbrella, but underneath it sits a number of things. So, for
Mhm.
example, you might say to them, talk to them about sustainability, but sustainability in terms of diversity. So you go into the organization and talk about sustainability, but not just the typical when we talk about how's your business sustainable. It's about, do you have the right people in place to ensure that the company remains relevant, remains credible, therefore sustainable. So then now you're looking at this through a diversity lens. So it's, are you being truly inclusive? Are you being truly diverse? You can use this again in terms of the sustainability aspect, in terms of what types of companies are you using to provide services for you? Have you looked at how they operate? Are they sustainable? Are they diverse? Are they inclusive? Because more and more companies now want to make sure that their supply chain is diverse. So rather than them keep going to the same people year on, year out, big conglomerates, big organizations, high turnover, you can't get to speak to your account manager because there's so many layers. They are now looking at us smaller businesses who can still do the job, who will give them that bespoke support. And that's where you can talk about how can we make sure that you are sustainable by using companies like us, who we have lower overheads. So we don't need to charge you as much money as the McKinseys of the world, the big Deloittes of the world. You can be sustainable in terms of, you might have signed up to a sustainable charter, which one of the criteria is your supply chain diverse. So that's another box they're ticking by using you. So there's different ways that you can go in and talk about sustainability. But another big one is definitely just diversity on its own. DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion. Because loads of companies, as you know, from how many years ago now, the George Floyd incident, that changed the whole dynamics of how business is done and how they are ensuring that they have a diverse pipeline, how they're ensuring that they have the right people in. And when we're talking about inclusivity and diversity, we're not just talking about race, and we're not just talking about women. We're talking about neurodiverse as well. People on the spectrum, they might be they might have dyspraxia, or they might be dyslexic. How do we make sure that we're meeting their needs within the organization? Because the organization are continuing hiring, but they don't understand the type of people they get in. And that's where us business owners can support them in that, in their process. So there's different streams that you can definitely pull upon.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, and now I see how we can, in a way, support your philosophy, so to speak, where we make the invisible visible.
Right.
Mm.
It's given women, high caliber women, high caliber men, a voice and visibility. Because what we tend to do, we tend to play small. And I've been there where I only will support other entrepreneurs in their journeys because it's easier. But going to corporate feels so big. Why would PwC want me? who am I? What can I bring to the table?
Yeah.
But what we bring to the table is because we are nimble and quick, so we can be responsive. We can respond to their needs quicker. So when we're in a meeting, in the boardroom, and you're thinking, but why me? These are the things you want to say. Well, I have a small team, so we can respond to your needs quicker, which means if your plans or your strategy shifts and changes, we can shift and change with you. When you're dealing with bigger organizations, they can't do that because they're quite top heavy. But when you're dealing with small business owners, it's usually 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4-man band. So we can respond quickly. We're nimble, we're responsive, we have less overheads, so we can charge less. So all of these things put us in good stead. And to make ourselves more visible, to have a voice at the table, is you need to be showing up in places like LinkedIn. We need to be talking about what we can do for corporates as well as what we can do for entrepreneurs or the consumers. We need to be talking the language of strategy. We need to be talking the language of data. We need to be talking the language of leadership. Once we're talking about that, things will come to us. Even today, I got 2 emails. One was actually a direct message saying, Michelle, I've been watching you. I've seen your profile, and I'd love for you to speak at our conference in Croatia on women and leadership.
Wow.
Just like that. Why? Because I'm forever talking about women, empowerment, leadership, visibility, and voice, making the invisible visible. Then I got another email today, and it was saying, Michelle, we would like to have a half-day training. We want to know if your company, the People's Partner, could facilitate that. And this is because they've been watching. I'm being consistent. I'm showing up. I'm not hiding behind copy. I come up on video and I show myself so that they can see what it would be like to work with me. You have to keep sowing those seeds. You have to keep sowing those seeds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You bring up such a great point, Michelle. You know, I got, as I was telling you last week, I got hacked into my Instagram account. All my viewers, my followers gone, you know, but it's you have to keep going. And just your voice, it's, you know, I hear it and it's very applicable to me that despite whatever setbacks we experience, we got to keep moving forward. We got to keep being visible. And I love your brand. I love this confidence you always exude. I know you motivate me on a daily basis, and I've learned so much. You have this wealth of wisdom that is, again, it is an absolute honor to have you here. So how would we, going back to this question, right, of approaching corporate? And I know you said, what would be the best way to learn this corporate lingo, so to speak, that'll enable me or another entrepreneur to be more confident? Do we go on LinkedIn? I know you said Google Alerts really big for following a company, but how could we be more well versed as it relates to the language, the data, the leadership, everything, you know, speaking their love language, so to speak, babe? What would be your recommendation?
So what I would definitely say is if you're targeting a particular company, start reading around the company. You need to understand what the industry is saying. Now, every industry has their own corporate language. So, for example, if I was in insurance, I would want to find out what trade bodies that insurers, so there must be like an association of insurers, and be a part of that. So I will sign up for different memberships, I usually do them for like 6 months to a year, just to be in the know. Because you have to be in it to understand it. It's very hard to see from the outside.
Yes.
So, and this is one of the reasons why I joined Dubai Women Council, because I wanted to have a stake in Dubai in terms of emerging leadership. So what I did is sign up for Dubai Business Women Council. So I can be in it, I can hear what people are talking about, I can find out what's happening in the MENA regions. Then I have my Google alerts, but I also then I sign up to different companies in Dubai I sign up to their newsletters. So I understand what they're talking about. I'm submerging and emerging myself into the industry. So if my industry that I was tackling was property, and it was property in Dubai, I want to find out what where's the go-to places, where do all these property people meet up. I want to be there. So I might sign up for a 6-month membership or a 1-year membership with property investors in Dubai, for example. And then if they have networking events, I'm there and I'm listening to, you pick up so much by being totally immersed into it. You cannot do it from the sidelines. You can't find out about a company and you only go onto their website once a week. It won't work. Right. So I get their newsletters. I sign up to any alerts. If they have a podcast, I listen to the podcast because I want to know so much about that company and so much about that industry. So when I'm ready to pitch, they will think that I have been in their industry for years. But all I've done is consumed it for a number of months. So now I'm talking their language. So when they're using certain acronyms, I know what they're talking about. They don't need to sit and explain it to me. I can use the acronyms and drop them in the conversation, and they'll be like, okay, this person isn't a novice. She knows our industry. I know the industry challenges. A couple of months ago, I was fortunate to be asked to travel to Portugal for a hair salon conference. Now, I don't know anything about hair salon. But what I had to do, because the work came to me and my team, I said, guys, let's understand the industry, because we had to facilitate breakout sessions. We had to do some training. So I was reading everything about the hair industry. I signed up to some magazines. I did a couple of networkings with them. So by the time we traveled to Portugal and we did a little bit of exercise, I'm telling you, the people who hired us said, how do you know so much about the industry and the challenges we're facing and hiring interns and all of that? And I said, I did my research. I did my homework. And she was so blown away. And I had one the week before. So I was being challenged to really understand the banking industry, because I had to do some work with them, and the hair salon industry. And it was like a week apart, but I still did it. And so when I did the bankers a week before, and I was asking them questions that was relevant to the banking industry, I was looking at some of the challenges they face as working a team across different districts, different countries. They were blown away to the point that they said, God, we need to get you back in, because you know so much about what we do that we didn't have to tell you. You just knew it. That's the difference. So you have to really immerse yourself. That's the word, I think. You have to really immerse yourself, even for a short period of time, but you're consumed by it, that when you're speaking to them, you're speaking their language. Speaking their language is actually less about speaking corporate style and more about understanding the challenges and the potential solutions to their problems.
Well, that's so beautiful, Michelle, because it equates to love.
Yes.
You've made an effort to understand them at such a fundamental level, basic level, that they don't have to regurgitate, okay, this is what that means, So, and I love that, because you've done like your military intel, so to speak. You've already done your research, you've gathered enough information to go in there more confidently and,
right,
and over deliver.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. And I love what you said, is love. It's showing. And my thing is, my clients mean a lot to me. And if I'm willing, if I am going to charge them a certain amount of money on the high fee,
yes,
I need to prove that I'm good enough. Mm-hmm. The thing is, and I find what some entrepreneurs do, they get into the mindset, for one reason or another, let me just raise my price. But there's no authenticity, there's no congruency. Because if one day your prices were 3,000 and tomorrow, because your coach told you to raise your price of 5K, how do you really can come across to say to someone, yeah, work with me, a minimum of 5K, and there's been no shift in your delivery. There's no shift in the work that you've done behind the scenes. So for me to go into a company and to say, if you want me to look at your diversity strategy or your leadership framework, and I'm going to charge you 20K, I can say that confidently because I know the amount of work I put in is worth that and more.
Yes.
Now, if I haven't done the work, if I haven't done the due diligence, if I'm not putting in the time and the effort, and I'm going to say 20K, they can tell because I wouldn't be able to say it confidently. I wouldn't be able to say this strong because I'm like, oh, and then imposter syndrome will come in, and that lack of confidence because you know full well that it's not really 20K, it's probably less than that, but you feel that you need to raise your prices. So I can confidently say it without a doubt and without any imposter syndrome sitting in because I know what I bring to the table. So I can say 20K, I can tell them 50K. And if they flinch, 50K, nah, I can't do this. And I'll say, let me tell you why I charge 50K. And I can give them chapter and verse without flinching. And then we sit in silence and marinate in the silence.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's because, again, it goes back to the passion, the love you have to invest, to immerse yourself and truly understand their pain points, where you can now communicate it in a loving way that where they're like, if she already knows this beforehand, imagine what she's going to do when we start really, paying her for her services. She's going to over deliver. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so powerful. So powerful, Michelle. So if I may switch it off to a personal question, if I may.
Yeah.
What has been your personal or professional biggest challenge as of late? And what have you learned?
I think my biggest challenge is, although I have a team, I'm still in charge. And which means sometimes it's lonely at the top. Yeah. So what tends to happen is work will come to me and I still have to make the decision because I don't have a business partner. I have a team who work underneath me that I will delegate work to, but I still have to make the decision. And that I found was the biggest shift. And I thought, God, I'm actually on my own in this. Whereas when I was working fully employed, I had a team. We can bounce ideas off. What do you think about this? We can brainstorm. So I really find great respect and value in masterminds. It has to be masterminds with people who are on the same level as you or above. They can't be beneath.
Yes.
And when I say beneath, I mean in terms of their experience. Because it's in these masterminds or having a coach or having a mentor that you can say, this is what I'm struggling with. They asked me this question. I'm thinking about this. I'm not too sure. And I have no one else to be bouncing these ideas with. So that was the biggest shift. And even when there are masterminds, and even if you do have a coach, it's still lonely at the top. It's still lonely at the top. And you have to be very self-motivating.
Oof.
Very self-motivated. Very much so. And we can't rely on somebody to wind us up in the mornings, to get us up. When we were working, we knew that we had to be at work for 9 o'clock. So we'd leave the house at 7. But we don't have anyone doing that for us. It's, I leave from my bedroom upstairs, come to my office downstairs, and no one's going to hold me accountable if I don't do it. So I have to be self-motivated. And I have to remind myself, why am I doing this, Michelle? Because there's times where people mistreat you, they lie on you, they abuse you, they ask for favors, you give them a favor, you don't get a thank you. So all of that's been a learning point. And when I thought to myself, being nice, I want to be a nice leader, I want to be a nice boss, I want to be, but I had to find that nice doesn't always pay. Right. And sometimes you have to put boundaries in place.
Yes.
And understand that some people will just come to you for their own gain.
Yes.
And although you're there, giving and given from a place of love, but not everybody comes to you in love. And that for me was the hardest thing, when I've gone out of my way for people and I haven't even got a thank you. And that cut deep, but it's learning.
I agree. I agree, Michelle. And you just have to realize, I I will set myself apart by not being that person. I
Yes.
will be grateful. I will live my life with integrity, and try strive to set that example. So in those moments, Michelle, because every time I see you, you're so, optimism radiates from you. Such a beautiful person. And again, I naturally gravitate towards you. But what do you do in those moments to uplift your soul, to keep going?
Do you know what? I've got a number of things that I do. I start my morning. I don't have like a full morning routine like most people do, to be fair. But I'll wake up and I always know how I want my day to end. So I'll start with the end in mind. How do I want my day to end? If I want my day to end on a high and buzzy, what do I need to do? I want to be in control, knowing that I'm not always going to be in control, but then I have to be able to adapt. So I wake up in the morning and I always already have plans. I know what I'm doing from the night before. So I'm not planning my day the day. I'm planning my days already planned the night before.
Mm.
And part of that is my desk area as well. I can't work in mess. I can't work in mess. So the night before, I make sure that everything's tidy, my books are cleared away. So I'm coming down with space. So that's really important. I don't like when places are messy. If my area is messy, I leave and I go to the hotel. I do that all the time. If my daughter's been around and left the mess, or my husband, I can't do it. So my environment really dictates my productivity. And so I just make sure that's right. I'm always saying really positive things to myself. On my laptop, I have lots of sticky notes on there reminding me that I've got this, I can do this. And all of that just keeps motivating me. And sometimes there's some days I can't be bothered, but I don't push myself to make an effort that day, because I think I've always given 100% all the time. So the days that I'm off, I just relax and I flow in it. And I think, okay, it's not working. It's not working. The computer breaks down and I don't even push. I will just send a text or WhatsApp to whoever I had meetings with. It's not going to happen. So sue me. Yeah. That's how I do it. And I just take that day off, because I know the next day I'm back on it. And I'm 100 most of the time. So when I have those days where things are not really in alignment, I allow them not to be in alignment and just think, probably, Michelle, it's your downtime. It's time to down tools, relax, watch some TV, pig out, have chocolate and relax. And that's what I do. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, Michelle. I know. I love that self-awareness around having emotional intelligence to fill up your love tank, because we are human beings. And there comes a point where you're like, no, I can't push today. It's one of those days. Let it go. I do it myself. Netflix it is, my best friend. It is what it is. So I am so grateful for having you here today, Michelle. I know that you're on a time hack and such a busy, incredible woman doing big things. So I'm grateful that I had you for the time that I did. I love, respect, and admire you from afar. And, I hope to do another episode with you in the near future, just because the nuggets you dropped, like the golden nuggets you dropped today. I was taking notes. And I know the viewers were taking notes as well, and they can rewatch this as many times needed. But in closing, how can our viewers, Michelle, connect with you? How can you reach out to you?
The best thing to do is connect with me on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. Those are my two playground. And just find me under Michelle Raymond. Now, with Instagram, as we know, there's people who like to create fakes. But the one way that you can always test if it's a fake or not, and this is a tip for everybody, the fakes don't do stories, they don't do reels. real people do stories and reels. So I've had loads of fake followers, fake accounts being created, asking for money. I don't do that. And you'll know mine because I'm always doing stories. Sometimes I chuck in a few reels. So always check it. And my Instagram is Michelle_Raymond1. So you can find me there, or just find me on LinkedIn, which is Michelle Raymond.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Miss Michelle Raymond. It's been an absolute honor. What a treat having you here today, babe. So grateful. And again, I hope to see another episode, have you in another episode. And for our viewers watching today, there you have it. Reach out to this incredible, powerful woman who always teaches me, the wisdom and valuable information that I can add to my tool belt. I'm sure you have. Thank you once again. Have an incredible day, and I'll see you on the next episode of Pull the Trigger.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.